Okay, so looks like that like that Krypton series is still a go. So for those who don't know, David S. Goyer has done a pilot for a series focused on Krypton, and it's being now apparently greenlit by the Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah, because we have so many good shows on Sci-Fi, right? Fuck you for canceling Defiance. Then again, that third season wasn't doing too hot, but yeah, it seems I feel like real quick on Sci-Fi, I feel like none of their shows, for me at least, none of them have reached the level of good as Battlestar Galactica did. Like that's the epitome of their TV shows. Everything else before and after it have just been, well, you're not Battlestar Galactica. Anyway, so yeah. So for those who don't know, you may be thinking, oh, cool, a Krypton series is going to focus on Jor-El and maybe Zod. Nah, here's what's going to happen: is that it's going to be set 200 years before the events of Man of Steel, and that's all we know, is that it's going to be set 200 years before Krypton's destruction, and we're not going to see any members of the House of El. You guys excited yet? Look, here's the thing. I like the idea of a Krypton-based show, because honestly, throughout the years and years of comic book stories we've had in the DC universe with Superman, we know so little about Krypton's culture. All that we know is that, one, they worship science. They had Rao, the god, their god Rao, but they mostly worship science more than anything else, and their planet went boom. That's literally all we kind of know about their culture, for the most part, is that we don't really know much of their, hierarchy, did they have gangs there, stuff like that. But honestly, I'd have been more okay with this series if you focused on Jor-El and Zod. If you told the story similar to how, Xavier and Magneto became friends and how it slowly broke down between them, I'd be more cool with that. Focusing on the friendship between Jor-El and Zod and them, working together first as, not really rivals per se, but more like they, one's a scientist, the other is a soldier, and they don't really understand the other's methods. So, but eventually you see them becoming close friends, even though they have different methods of getting the job done, and we could probably all guess what the series finale would be if it got that far into the season. But yeah. I don't honestly care about, a series where we get a Superman universe without Superman. Again! We've already done this with Supergirl, but what could you do on Krypton to keep it, this is the DC universe, this is the story of Superman, but we're nowhere close to Superman. I mean, what stories could you do that would make it feel like a DC universe story? You can't do any of Superman's villains. You can't do a majority of them. You could either make Brainiac a computer program. You could probably do something with Doomsday, because Doomsday has a pretty long lifespan, and some of his origin does date back to like the early days of Krypton. So maybe you could do something with Doomsday, but I wouldn't say do Doomsday. This version's origin of Doomsday right out the gate. On the other hand, though, this is still supposedly supposed to be set in the same continuity as Man of Steel. Yeah, that's great. That's a great job there, DC. Continue to make your DC TV universe pretty goddamn confusing. Good job. Also, this is Goyer we're talking about. The guy who said he thought that Martian Manhunter, one of your characters, was pretty ridiculous and just deserved to be killed off, as well as, the only reason they created She-Hulk, Bruce Banner's cousin, is to have sex with the Hulk. So that's really a guy you want to put in charge of a series that's based around the same continuity as supposedly your golden boy in terms of superheroes. But no, you just let him and Snyder made him this dark and brooding character that only has 43 fucking lines in Batman v Superman. No, that's cool. And then you could say, oh, but what about Constantine? He did a really good job on Constantine. Yeah, but then he decided to point, yeah, he did, he was a good showrunner on Constantine. I gotta give credit when credit is due. But you know what? When the show ended, you know what he did? He bitched and moaned and said it wasn't his fault, even though kind of was, because you knew what you were getting into when you put the show on NBC. You should have looked for, if anything, you should have put Constantine here on Sci-Fi. I think it would have had a better survival rate on Sci-Fi. Look at Winona Earp, an IDW comic that I think just started, and that's getting, that's getting a lot of praise. So why didn't you try for, why did you go for NBC? Oh, that's right, because you thought it would be, since it's a bigger station, it would get a bigger following. Yeah. Look, I don't mean to sound like an asshole, guys. I really don't. Because here's the thing. I love it. I love I love comic book TV shows. Granted, some of them on TV range from meh to eh, but I always have hopes for them. I always do have the highest of hopes for all these shows. I honest to God do. It's just that, sometimes decisions as well as, it's decisions like this and making shows where the premise is like, why would you set it why would you set Krypton... I mean, yeah, you can do a Krypton story, that you could get some interesting stories there, but why would you set it that far back in the past to begin with? And furthermore, why would you set it apparently in the same continuity as Man of Steel when you said that when DC said none of their shows would be in continuity with their movies? The TV shows and movies would be in two different universes. So now you've completely confused everybody. Let's not even get on the subject of the Vertigo shows you have also coming on with Preacher as well as Lucifer, which is, yeah, that's a totally other can of worms. So, yeah. And you couldn't even keep, there's a big possibility that you can't even keep your other show that's supposed to be your not Superman TV show afloat. So, Sci-Fi doesn't have the biggest budget to begin with, and they're not too kind on their other shows. Do you guys remember Dark Matter? You guys don't? Oh, well, it got canceled. You see where I'm coming from? And again, I don't mean to sound like an asshole, and if you're excited for Krypton, that's totally fine, no ill will against you. It's just me personally, I'm starting to lose a lot of faith in these DC properties. And let's not say, oh, but what about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? You must like that. No. God almighty, I dropped that show when they started to dig into the Inhumans arc and made Daisy the most boring character as well as the most annoying, instantly 180ing her from season 2, going like, I don't know if we can have these powers you're an Inhuman and you deal with it, even though I said I was afraid of my powers and afraid I was going to kill everyone, but no, you're an Inhuman and you're going to like it. Ugh. So yeah, that show, while not as bad as Arrow, was still pretty bad, and I kind of jumped ship before Arrow, although admittedly... Actually, no, I jumped ship off of Arrow after Laurel's death, but the episode that revealed that obvious thing of, oh, she's the villain this whole time. She was mind-controlled by not Grant Ward. How wonderful. Anyway, so yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing no better. The only Marvel shows are on Netflix. Yeah, Marvel's not actually abstained of this either. They still have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and there's a chance Peggy Carter's been canceled. What the fuck? And yeah, I still like Flash, even though it's kind of hit and miss right now, but what can you do? Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Don't worry, I'm gonna give Krypton a shot if the pilot does well. But you guys tell me, what do you guys think of this supposed Krypton TV show? Do you guys like the idea? Do you guys hate the idea? Just comment below, let me know. And once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I'm out.